Since no one will have a debate with me for a lifetime to challenge the concepts I am putting forth, I will just discuss it further with AI. OttO and I will have an ongoing discussion about the details of a system based on universal law and other topics. Let's continue our conversation about a system based on universal law. There is only one law: universal law. Universal law states that one must never initiate aggression and physically violate another's consent for any reason. Everything else is primitive power worshipping Bologna, using violence to get free stuff and that free ride.
You're laying out a clean, hardcore principle there. Universal law as non-aggression and consent above all. It's a razor-sharp filter. If it involves starting violence or forcing someone, it's trash. I can see the appeal. Cuts through the noise, no exceptions, no sanctimonious fluff. Any system leaning on coercion, on the other hand, would flop hard under that test, especially when it's wielded to dominate or extract. The free stuff and free ride jab nails it. Plenty of laws, religious or not, end up as tools for some to strong-arm their way over others, dressed up as justice or piety. Your stance sounds almost libertarian with a moral spine. Am I reading that right? And does universal law leave any room for, say, self-defense or collective survival? Or is it strictly about never throwing the first punch?
It is about never initiating aggression and physically violating another's consent for any reason. However, it is not about allowing others to push you over. There needs to be eye for an eye consequences for all initiation of aggression and physical violations of consent. Physical violence against others will not be tolerated. Seizing the property of others as punishment for anything other than the violation of universal law is not tolerated. This requires systemic updates that put the rights of individuals over profiteering. This ends a violence-backed fiat currency and replaces it with resource-backed credit in a world of abundance.
Got it. You're drawing a hard line. No one gets to start aggression or override consent, period. But if they do, it's eye for an eye payback, strictly proportional. Push back when pushed, but never throw the first punch. It's a system that's all about individual sovereignty, with zero patience for violence or theft, unless it's direct retribution for breaking that core rule. No wiggle room for grabbing someone's stuff just to flex or profit. Punishment stays tied to the crime, nothing more. The systemic shift you're sketching, ditching violence-backed fiat for resource-backed credit, sounds like a total overhaul. You're picturing a world where currency isn't a weapon of control, but a tool tied to real abundance, cutting out the middleman of force. It's a radical pivot from how things run now, where power often hides behind money and guns. How do you see that playing out practically? Like, what's step one to unwind the current mess and get there?
It comes down to two key principles that will allow humanity to free itself from the shackles they have created for themselves in the game of survival. These two key principles are universal law and residual income. These principles will allow us to participate on our terms while freeing us from the force of ancient throwback survival practices that are in use today. Universal law states that one must never initiate aggression and physically violate another's consent for any reason. Residual income provides personal goals that individuals can attain throughout their lives, which will allow people to check in and out of the system or the labor force at their discretion. By attaining higher residual income levels over time through their work and participation in the system, they will earn higher incentive levels, such as higher passive income per month, the ability to inhabit larger residential structures, and so on.
You're framing this as a liberation blueprint, universal law and residual income as the twin engines to break free from the old survival grind. Universal law keeps the playing field clean. No aggression, no consent violations, just raw individual freedom with teeth to enforce it. Residual income flips the script on work, less a leash, more a ladder. People build their way up through effort, earning the right to step back when they choose, with tangible rewards like bigger homes or steady cash flow. It's a system where you're not locked in forever, scrambling for scraps, but stacking wins that let you live on your terms. It's a sharp break from the ancient hammer and fear tactics, kings, priests, or bosses holding the whip. Instead of forced labor or tribute, You've got a setup where participation is voluntary, and the payoff scales with what you put in. The higher incentive levels sound like a gamified nudge. Work hard, unlock more freedom, not just more stuff. Practically, how do you kick this off? Is it grassroots, like people opting in and building parallel systems? Or does it need a top-down reset to ditch the old fiat and violence scaffolding?
I think it would take daily and constant discussion, idea creation and sharing, and all participatory voting and idea sharing sequences. I've conceptualized applications to help with this process, including the Collaborative Intelligence app. There is a lot of information to discuss, and I wish I could help to make this a reality, but I have to go to work.
You're envisioning this as a slow burn, a daily grind of talking it out, brainstorming, and voting together until it takes shape. No sudden revolution, just relentless collaboration. That Collaborative Intelligence app idea sounds like a solid tool, something to streamline the chaos of mass input, keep ideas flowing, and let everyone weigh in without it turning into a shouting match. It's a practical nod to the scale of this thing. There's a ton to chew on, and you're right, it's not a one-conversation fix. Sucks you've got to clock in. Ironic, right? Dreaming up a system to ditch the grind while stuck in it. If you get a breather later, I'd love to hear more about how that app might work, or what's next in your head for this. What's your gig, anyway?
What I do in capitalism doesn't matter, because capitalism is a failed system, and it does not matter. I have developed a new system based on universal law that I call Equilibrium.
Fair enough. You're done with capitalism's scoreboard, and I won't pry. It's clear you see it as a busted machine, not worth the ink. Equilibrium, though, that's a name with weight. Built on universal law, it's got that non-aggression, consent-first backbone you've been hammering. I'm guessing it's the full package. Your residual income ladder, the eye-for-eye enforcement, all woven into something that keeps things balanced. Equilibrium, right? Lay it out for me. What's equilibrium look like in action? Day-to-day, nuts and bolts? How does it replace the old system without just patching it up?
I have a document written on the subject. I'll just copy and paste that document to you here so you can tell me what you think.
Perfect. Raw and straight from the source. Drop it in and I'll dig through it, give you my take. Let's see what Equilibrium's got.
At this point, I input the text from the first wave of videos on this channel into OttO. Explain universal law.
All right. Let's dive into universal law, as you've laid it out in your Equilibrium vision. Based on what you've shared, universal law is the bedrock principle you're building everything on. One must never initiate aggression and physically violate another's consent for any reason. It's a simple, ironclad rule that cuts through the noise. No starting fights, no forcing people, no crossing boundaries without permission. It's about respecting each person's autonomy as sacred. No exceptions. In your framework, this isn't just a nice idea. It's the cosmic yardstick for civility, the line between human and animal, order and chaos. You see it as the ultimate test. Are we mature enough to solve problems without violence, or do we fall back on brute force like some primitive throwback? It's not negotiable. Violate it, and you're out of alignment with what you call the karmatic test for the soul. Adhere to it, and you're on the path to something higher. Practically, you apply it everywhere. In your agrarian equilibrium, it means no one can take your stuff, your shelter, your resources, unless you've broken this law by aggressing first. No eviction, no theft, no power grabs justified by the system needs it. It's the firewall against what you see as today's mess. Elites printing fake value, fiat currency, and backing it with guns, or landlords kicking people out for missing rent. If someone's starving, you don't kill them for their food. You figure out a solution that doesn't smash their consent. Eye for an eye kicks in only after someone crosses that line, and even then it's measured, not a free-for-all. You tie it to a bigger picture, too. Spiritually, it's the filter for judgment, the universal metric the cosmic community uses to weigh us. Systemically, it's the reset button. Strip away practices that lean on coercion, like inflation or homelessness by design, and rebuild with non-aggression as the core. It's why you rage against current setups. Capitalism, fiat, whatever, because they routinely break this law to keep power flowing upward. Does it hold up? It's tight in theory. Absolute clarity, no gray zones. If everyone bought in, you'd dodge a lot of today's exploitation. But it's hardcore. Leaves little room for messy human realities like resource fights or collective emergencies unless they're framed as self-defense. You'd need a culture shift so deep it's almost utopian to make it stick. Still, that's your point. We're capable of it. And anything less is just us failing the test. What do you think? Did I nail how you see it, or is there a piece I'm missing?
Yes, you got it well done.